You're listening to The Disc Golf Show. It is The Disc Golf Show. That's right, episode number 14 on our 2025 season. Today is July 15th of 2025, the last time I checked. That's right, I just looked at the clock. My name is Justin. With me today are these two blokes here somewhere.
I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm Kenny, a.k.a. Ken You Putt.
That's right. And Ken today is in high definition, if you haven't noticed. We made some changes behind the scenes. We did some upgrades, and we used technology to get us there. We call it the 1.0 to future enhancement. Real quick, before we get started, the Disc Golf Show, I got to let you know, is sponsored in part by two locations of a local shop called Final Nine Sports. Their two locations are Orangevale and Rockland. Check them out. Support local if you can't stop in there. That's the message. But let's just say, man, they have that new disc golf bag, and they're not getting it in anytime soon because my local pro shop owner hates that company. You know what you do? You go out to discgolfdealsusa.com/discgolfshow and you save yourself 15% off because you use that code and you shop online, and that's how you do it. I'm not saying that it's like an anecdotally or anything.
10% off.
I said 15. I meant 10. We're trying to convince them to do 15, but they said 10 because we don't like. I'm just kidding. They never said that at all. That's not how you do a sponsor plug. Anyways, go there. discgolfdealsusa.com/discgolfshow. Use the code SAVE 10% off your entire purchase. Which leads us to the first thing that we should talk about today, and we got a lot of it. It's real interesting. Stick around, because if you left already, you've already missed out.
News. All right,
Hit
guys.
us with it, Nick.
Yeah, so quick update. First thing is there were a couple videos that were posted by the one and only Ben Askren, who, if you don't know from the previous episode, actually prior to that, he had some ailments, serious ailments. He got pneumonia. He got put into the hospital. He was in a coma. He's out of the coma.
Is it still an ailment at that point? I mean, when does it get upgraded from ailment?
Yeah, it's. I'm being kind here, okay? Like I'm
okay.
I didn't want to say deathbed. Like that's just me.
I mean, double lung transplant. That seems like more significant than like a flu.
It's serious, okay? Yes, he was in a coma. Okay,
saying.
that kind of signifies the fact that it was serious. Anyways, so he made a couple posts where he's actually conscious, and it's not his wife making those posts. He's showing his appreciation for all the support and everything that people are giving him, whether it be sponsors or fellow fighters that are making videos, telling him that they hope he's doing better. It's good to see that support for somebody like him. He's such a nice guy. One other thing I did want to put out there, hopefully they'll bring out some more because currently they're all sold out, but Discraft did make a couple fundraiser discs for the Askren family.
I didn't even see that. So.
Yeah, because if you didn't know, his insurance decided to say, no, we're not covering it. And then per our previous show, we had Jake Paul state that he was going to financially help. And I do believe I saw a video of Dana White stating that they did something as well. But that was kind of like a little, he doesn't like to talk about that stuff, Dana. So, but yeah, there's a bunch of support for him to help him cover those costs because a double lung transplant, as you can guess, is not cheap. But yeah, he seems to be doing better. The very first video that he did, you could tell he would talk and take a breath and talk really short. The second video that I saw, it seemed a little more significantly better. So it's good to see he's on.
And everything, yeah.
It's good to see he's on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wish him well. That's
and
awesome
hopefully those fundraiser discs get replenished. But right now, like I said, they're on the factory store Discraft site.
They're sold out.
They show sold out, but they're pretty cool. I wanted to snag them. I just, didn't
get in line fast enough.
I was late. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get your old man slippers on quicker and get in line, okay? All right? Okay, what did we learn here?
And that's all.
Right, exactly.
It's great that they're sold out, that everybody...
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's also great is that the PDGA elections are going on. Vote now. They're on right now. So the PDGA elections take place every year from July 1st to July 31st. And that's for the people that are going to take office on September 1st. So get out there, do your vote and stuff. You might have already gotten your ballot, if you will. Basically how it works is, if you don't know, if you're current as of June 25th, 2025, and you have a valid email address with the PDGA, then you'll receive your ballot so that you can vote. If you don't get one of those, or you'd like to request a mail-in ballot, you can call their office at 706-261-6342 no later than July 20th. So you got 5 days here, and they'll mail you a paper ballot so that you can vote. So get on that if that's something you need to do. Show notes down below. Obviously, we'll leave that there for you just in case you need to reference it later.
And speaking of the PDGA, they had their Masters World Championships recently in Twin Cities, Minnesota. And I think this comes as no surprise, but Owen Scoggins takes down her division. I think it's her fifth in a row. It's a lot.
She's dominant in that. Yeah,
you might be right.
This one was a little closer with Jennifer Allen. I know it was, I think it went into the final few holes tied or something like that. It was real close. But anyway, and then a newcomer to the Masters division, Paul Oman, won his MPO division, and they would be the MPO or NFPO 40 divisions that they both won. Also, no surprise here, Juliana Korver won her respective division, and so did Johnny McRae. Again, both of them have won multiple Masters divisions since they decided to switch to those divisions. And all those people we mentioned still will play in MPO and PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour events and things like that. Juliana, not so much anymore, and I haven't seen Johnny quite in a Pro Tour event, but he still plays like sanctions events down in Florida and stuff like that. So again, I say it all the time. That's why I love disc golf. Plus, there were 9 other divisions because went all the way up to competitors in MP 75. So people,
which is crazy.
Yeah, you can play disc golf your entire life. Like it is amazing. And be a world champion. Absolutely, be a world champion in that. I mean, honestly, I kind of like if I could get just a little healthier. That's kind of my goal now. Like I'm like I said, I'll be 56 in October, but I've never competed in any kind of Masters or any kind of big event, but I kind of have my eyes set on this now that I've been watching it. I'll get crushed, I'm sure, but hey, if you don't have hope in life, I don't know. So and then shout out to all the juniors competing this weekend in the 2025 PDGA Junior World Championships, and that's out in Emporia. So they're out there at Country Club, which I thought was kind of odd because that's quite a long course for juniors, but and quite wide open. So just big hyzer bombs from the little guys and girls. So but good luck to all those competitors out there in Emporia. They still put on a heck of a show. I've seen some clips from Bobby that showing what they're doing out there. And again, hats off to DD. You may have thought their demise was coming and all that kind of stuff, but they still know how to put on a disc golf tournament and really show up, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So,
I say all credit goes to Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze.
Yeah. There you go.
For DD coming back.
Yeah.
It's good old Bob Brown. But I definitely shout out to them. It's for these the worlds, junior worlds and all that. It's a long event. It's not even 3-4 days. Juniors are 15th through the 19th. So it's a marathon event, those big events, which is fun to see still because back in the day you'd have these events and they'd be a full week long. They'd be 7 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, for these major events. But because there's so many events these days, they kind of obviously have to trend that down a little bit because of all the other important events. But talking about important events, one of them was 2 weekends ago was PCS Open. Now, not all, but the majority of the touring players are now over in the European swing.
Mm-hmm.
And PCS Open, all these players, they're always touting how amazing these courses are. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous.
Absolutely.
They're very challenging. They give you decisions to make as to landing spots and all that. And in this event, Evelina continued her winning streak, and it was her third in a row. And so, yeah, it was held in Vestnes, Norway.
Norway.
I'm probably slaughtering that, but, take it for what it is.
That's right.
But the fact that Evelina won, she actually came back to overtake Kristen Lott. So Kristen had the lead that event, and then Evelina is showing her current dominance right now. And big shout out to her, because she's obviously nailed things down to where the misses or gaps in her overall game are very few nowadays. And it's good to see somebody that's pushing Kristen, because I think that's what you need to do in the first place. But as for MPO, that one was crazy because it came down to the last 3 holes. Last 3 holes, hole 16, Burr has a 3-stroke swing against him. He ends up getting, I think it was a double bogey. I believe it was a double bogey, and Adam Hammis ends up getting a birdie, I think, on that hole. The following hole, so Adam has 2 holes left with a 3-stroke advantage, and then he ends up giving back 2 strokes on hole 17. But ultimately, it came down to his upshot on 18, which, if you've seen it, it's where the tractor is sitting out there in the little cove of like island-ish green. It's not really an island because there's a small alleyway of the fairway that leads up to it. And his upshot was dialed, and he parks it, and he ends up winning another event. And this is his 5th, I believe, overall DGPT win. So big shout out to Hammis, because we know that he's been playing great this year, and he's been in the running for a lot of events, at least at some point during the events. And he was able to nail this one down, first event over in Europe, and big shout out to him. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to point out too. So when you say like Evelina, and she wins over Kristen Lott, that actually tied, right? Anniken Steen, right?
Yep.
And Kristen Lott. And then the next player down, Anneli Jasmaninste, was at -5. So 5-stroke difference between the tie for second place and the next one. So it wasn't like, oh, this was just given still top tier play, right? Yeah. There's nothing taken away from that. Like the next difference down, it was a big jump, which is cool. And the course is beautiful too. So,
the course is amazing. And pay attention, Disc Golf Pro Tour and PDGA. The trophies were incredible.
Yes.
Sure, it's a little,
yes.
a battle axe. When you're giving a battle axe to the MPO, you give a sword and the shield to the FPO, and it fits the theme of the course. You have shields and swords, and that whole 6, I think it is. They call it the Valhalla shot, where you're throwing through 2 huge giant swords and everything. That's disc golf. That's what we need. That's what will get eyeballs on the sport. They literally have an upturned shipwreck ship in one of the ponds and things like that. Like, come on. It's not expensive to do this. These are just fake little wooden shields, fake little wooden swords pointing out, where to go and things like that. And again, the trophies.
Themed.
Well, I guess you could say somebody's going to say somewhere, well, what are you giving a sword out and a battle axe, blah, blah, whatever. Still an awesome trophy. And every reaction from the players when they're getting handed those trophies is amazing. They're all elated. Right. And the other thing they do, at least I noticed in the FPO, they have the previous winner of the event hand the trophy off to the newest winner. I don't know if they did that in MPO. I didn't actually see the trophy ceremony.
Well, I believe with the axe that Adam Hammis held, they gave him, I think they gave him a metal, like, CNC cutout thing to take with him because
Right,
the axe,
yeah.
I believe, stays there.
Yeah.
But it's that moment on that green that you are able to hold up that awesome trophy, the real trophy, actually.
Right. Yeah.
But it gets there, which is kind of cool too, because then it's one thing. You're not carrying that on a flight.
No.
And shipping that anywhere is going to be ridiculous. So yeah, I definitely like the aspect where they get this really, really cool trophy, but they also get something to take with them. That way they don't have to worry about something massive, weird shaped to take on home.
Absolutely. Also, since we're talking about Europe, let's continue down that trend. We had the Crow Call Open in Oslo, Norway. Match play before the event, before the tournament, I guess. So Ezra Robinson, I guess, beats Hamas, which interesting. I have some thoughts about that, but I want to hear you guys first, and then obviously Holland Hanley beats Silva Saarinen. So I want to hear your thoughts on it, though, Nick, first before I say anything.
So before this event happened, if you don't do this, you can. They had a way to make your votes as to how it would end up on the match play overall. There's a site that you can go to. Off the top of my head, I forget what it's called, but you can actually put all your picks for match play and lead it down to who ultimately wins or whatnot. But when I was making these picks, way off. I chose horribly. I thought Hamas was going to win because of his recent victory. He had that going for him.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Ezra, his first shot, takes the wind out of Hamas's sails by acing. Insane on that hole. Like, just parring is great on that hole. Aderhold versus Macbeth. Yes, we know Aderhold recently won a DGPT, his first event, but I'm still there's some part of me, and maybe it's just the nostalgic part, that feels like Macbeth is going to do something this year. Like he's been on the verge almost in every event, right? He's been in talks, and so I chose him. He didn't win. Aderhold beat him. The one I did get right was Antala beat Proctor. Those are my picks for that. Obviously, it didn't pan out how I wanted, but it's good to see.
Kristen over Kona also.
Oh, I mean, that wasn't even... Neither of the FPO divisions got past, I think, hole 13. So...
No, they didn't.
It was... Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest, the skill level on that one, duh.
Yeah.
It's like,
drastically
there's some obvious choices.
Yeah.
There's some obvious choices, but
yeah, I think, I don't know, man. Like, I like these match play events. I think there's definitely different ways that they can go about doing it because it seems like there's something missing on them. They're still fun to watch. I love it.
Exactly.
Match play, you have a different mentality going into it.
That was my exact point. I don't think that this is reflective of actual tournament play at all. No. So it's like the different matchups that you have and kind of, it going a different way than you would kind of expect or predict, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's reflective of actual tournament play at all. It's kind of what I was going to get at.
And that's the point. Again, that's why you do something like match play, because you're going to get different winners and you have a chance. Even a Kona over Kristen technically has a chance. Because you're not playing for strokes. You're playing hole for hole.
Like a really strong 1% chance. There's a chance there.
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is there's a chance.
Yeah. I like the format. Again, as we talk about all the time and we'll get into later in the podcast, there's things they could do to showcase it better. For sure, to make it a lot better. And I won't go off here. I'll go off later on.
Save it for the... Yeah, all right. I see what you're doing there. Let's
go for the team. Okay.
That's right. And
I guess there's still more to talk about with the Croco.
No. Definitely nothing else. Moving on.
No, we didn't talk about the Croco Open, did we?
Talking about that,
No. We don't need to. Moving on.
No.
No, we should.
Listen, okay, so when it came to Croco, I'm a little I'm going to get hate because this is the number one loved course, right? It's the number one course in the world.
Yeah.
Especially per the pros.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they use the golf course that it's on. I'm not the biggest fan of golf course disc golf, but the fact that they use the terrain well in pin placement kind of pushes me over to liking the event and appreciating the course in and of itself. Like some of the, like, I don't know what it is, dude. The design of that course is so well done.
Yeah.
And it pushes it gives the athletes chances at Eagle if they really want to go for it, but there's definitely danger when it comes to that. So the payout,
risk reward,
the risk reward is huge, and it's really well done with how they force the athletes to make those decisions, and they're attainable, and they're not like 5% attainable. They're like 30%, 40, you know. But it makes you question yourself as to whether you really want to go for it. And ultimately, you're going to go for it down the stretch, but it's so appealing, and it is, like I said, like a possibility of 4 out of 10 shot for pros. To me, I feel is a valid enough reason to go for something like that, because they know that, yes, it may not be a given for me to make it, but I could really either give myself some distance in round 2, or I need this shot in that final round to make up some spaces and to climb the ladder on it. So as much as I tend to lean towards more wooded courses, it was pretty much the layout and how it was structured and their OB lines and all that stuff. There were a couple holes that like I kind of go, oh, well, they could have done this or that, but that's just personal opinion, and that's not really, it doesn't really change the outcome enough to worry about it. But I think it's an amazing course. It's definitely worthy of the number one course in the world.
The course
it gives that level, that bar to push for other places. I think that's what's needed.
I think a lot of it, I love the elevation in it. You know, again, we had the elevation way back in Florida in the beginning of the season. Now we got it here again to where, you know, you're talking huge drop-offs. Or, you know, I love the first hole that's up on that mound. You know, that little, it makes it almost like an island. And like you said, the risk reward is there for both FPO and MPO. They made the distance to where, hey, if you hit the top of that plateau and stay up there, you got an easy birdie. You just missed and hit the side of that hill, and you could roll away, you know, or anything. But then you also have the option of just throwing it at the bottom of that hill and shooting up. That's just hole 1 alone. You know, there's streams, there's water, you know, that come into play. But like I said, the elevation, and we won't get that now again until we go to Maple Hill. And even then, Maple Hill's elevation is like 2-3 holes maybe that it really comes into play. You know?
What did make me think about actually is a course that I miss seeing because they only played it a couple times, and due to COVID it got moved. This course reminded me slightly, well, the best example in the US for me in comparison to this course, like you said, with elevation and everything, was the San Francisco Open. The San Francisco Open course on that golf course had enough wooded pin positions, enough massive changes in elevation. That course, I would love to see it come back as an extra one in California, because another one wouldn't hurt. But to me, that's like the closest kind of course. I mean, another one, I guess, but it isn't that isn't on a golf course. I was going to say the one that Barsby won Worlds at. Like, that one is definitely has elevation change, but that's not a golf course.
Yeah, and only a few.
For golf course elevation change, San Francisco Open it. I think it was something Eagles or Eagles something course in San Francisco. I I hope they find some way to bring that course back, because it was an amazing, and that was one of the first DGPT event I actually was able to go to,
Sure.
and follow and everything like that, and that was really, really fun. But yeah, I think if it's a golf course, that is one of the aspects that makes me like it, because of all that elevation change.
Yeah. And I would compare it to some of the courses out in Pittsburgh. Not one specific course, but if you remember, again, the ad of Paul Macbeth throwing off of the top of the tee, and you see the lake in the background and stuff like that, that's Pittsburgh course. And it had a lot of elevation. Yeah. Now, the similar course, I think it's Deer Lakes or whatever, has that rocky, hilly elevation changes that they did. Again, you had Simon with a huge throw in on one of those. I think it was hole 16 way back in the day. They played Worlds there. It was 2015 Worlds, is East Pittsburgh's courses I'm talking about. But overall, not to keep harping on this topic, but they need better courses out there on tour. And they need elevation. They need natural rock formations. Again, it was kind of unlucky, but yet made for some drama when they're hitting rocks and they're skidding off and things like that. Even on that short hole, it made that short 230-foot hole very dramatic. And you had some scoring separations already on hole 3 because you're skipping off that rock, or, again, it had that big drastic drop-off. They put some wood there, but it was, it was only like a half a foot tall that they had some barrier around it. Great course design, though. That's literally, sure, there's a little bit of luck involved, but I think I'm okay with that.
There's luck in everything. There's luck in everything.
Sure.
The one thing I can say is during the playoff, and we talked about this in different for different events. I did not like the fact that they repeated 18 over and over. I think it is an 18 to par 5, and you have that. This is one where the hole in and of itself is great, because you can go for that island on your second shot and possibly go for equal shot. But I didn't like the fact that there was that whole wait. You had to cart them all the way back to the tee. They played the hole in a playoff. For me, you shouldn't be able to play the same hole 5 times before you find a victor. It was the same shots over and over. There was no variety. Have at least a 2-hole loop, 2 to 3 hole loop. I think that's the golden, pocket for a playoff. Ultimately, after 5, it was a 3-way playoff, which was kind of cool because we haven't seen those in a while, multiple people playoff. But in the end, you had somehow Jakub misses a putt that was inside Ben's putt. So Ben sinks his putt, and then Jakub misses it, and Ben Callaway gets the win. So shout out to him. But again, for me, that would be really the only thing that I didn't like that much, was the fact that they had to play 18 on loop. For me.
Yeah.
All right.
And
but what's not...
Holland, Hanley, and Silva really kind of took the reins there and just kind of ran with it, which, again, surprisingly enough, Kristen wasn't really in contention, but she just didn't putt.
Finished 5th, I think, right?
Again, something that we've seen now with Kristen for 3 or 4 events. She's just not putting up to her standards. She even putts, she was 40% for the tournament or something, 50%. If she even gets it up to 80%. And we've talked about this, unfortunately, in the FPO field a lot. If the girls would just get and maintain at that 80% putting rate, they would win the tournaments by 5, 6 strokes sometimes. So, shout out to Holland for winning the FPO part of that too. It's great victory for her, and her 5th or 6th or something. She's stacking them up.
Yeah.
All right.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say we should move to the next point.
Sure. Yeah, we harped on that one quite a long time.
Well,
horse
the
is
next
dead.
point the next point actually just finished today. The next point being the Superstar Challenge. They're in Europe. They have the 2 majors coming up. I mean, that's what we're looking forward to these next couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. And they have a Superstar Challenge. They had this before, and it was at the they call it the European Disc Golf Festival. And it's like the lead up to the main event type thing for the first major. They did the same events for it. You have a long drive or drive that they give you points per distance, so meter. They had the accuracy where they play from the FPO 18's tee pad. And it's a accuracy shot where they have, bullseye, basically circles painted, and you get points depending on where you land leading up to the basket. And you have putts at 5 different basket positions from, I want to say the closest one was 25 feet, was it? Somewhere around there. The longest one was probably 40. I want to say it was like a 5, probably 5 to 10 foot difference for each basket. Maybe I want to say maybe the long one was 50 to 60. I don't know. But the way that they mapped the baskets this year was different from last year, and the amount of putts that they gave them was different. Because I think last year they gave them 3 to 5, I want to say, to dial in. This year they only gave them 2. Was it 3? This year they gave them 2, and I don't know. Like, it's fun to watch because it's exhibition style, right? You have a team. You have two MPO, 2 FPO players on each team, and I think there's 4 teams total. It's really neat because they walk them out and they got this big old screen behind them that they show a couple stats on it. It's really neat. The way that they do it, amazing. I think there's definitely room for adjustment. One of the things I would like to see is having more pros involved. Because as it is, you have 8 MPO, 8 FPO. And so 2 battle, and then those final 2 battle, right? Well, even the bottom 2 battle for third. To me, I think it would be really cool where it's almost like the all-star event, where you have a team and make the team twice as big, and you choose, or whatever, half as big, whatever it is, you choose players for each event. So you choose specific players for the driving, specific players for the upshot, and specific for the putting. I really like that format. And like I said, it involves more players, which involves the fans more because their favorite player might be in the team. It's not just 16 players; it's 32 players, and so you have more availability for people who want to watch because their favorite player is more likely to be playing because you have more players. It's enjoyable either way. Obviously, there's always room to grow at these new kind of events that they're trying to get as staples for fun events on the tour. But ultimately you had actually, I believe they won last time, almost the same team, but I think Kristen won it last time. Kristen's team won it last year because her and Silva were on. I forget, but ultimately it doesn't matter because this year you had the Bazooka Battalion win it, so that European team ended up taking the victory, which is cool. I don't know if you guys have watched any of it. I think you guys probably at least caught some clips of it. What did you guys think on ways that it could? What things you liked about it versus things that you think could be better?
I
didn't get a chance to watch any of it, so yeah.
Right, and I was watching the first half of it, which is my first complaint. Why have it in halves and you had a half-hour break in between? It wasn't a taxing event. It wasn't something that was like, super grueling or anything like that. They were, at least carting them around on golf carts and part of it and things like that. So that half-hour break in between, I totally forgot to turn it back on to watch the championship. It's like, so I forgot it. A guy who does a podcast for disc golf, who loves and watches almost every content that's out there for disc golf, forgets about it in that, maybe it's my old brain that did it. Anyway, that's my first complaint. My second complaint is the order at which they did the event. I get it. It's drive for show, putt for dough. But what was this but a showcase? You're showing off your best disc golfers. So you switch it around. You do the putting first. Because what ended up happening, at least in the half that I saw, is that the putting didn't matter. There was teams that were out of it that they couldn't even catch up. And they were just, I saw Gannon Burr whipping drivers at the highest point basket because they had already won. So you didn't even have to putt. It didn't make any. You do the putting first. It's the quietest thing. It's the let's be honest, it's boring. Like what? I understand you want to have all three formats of disc golf in there, which they did. Didn't mind the accuracy at all, although people weren't very accurate. So that's another thing. But you finish with the big screen. You finish in that velodrome or whatever that app or the place is with the drives, with the big stinking drives. That's what should be determining it. You're showcasing disc golf. I love the crowd too. You put all the crowd behind them and clapping and cheering. And because it's because it's a domed area, it gets louder. The other thing they needed to do, put microphones on the players. You saw them all chatting, laughing, trash talking. You literally saw them trash talking, but you couldn't hear a word. Yeah. Why are you not miking up Jeremy Colling? Why are you not miking up Gannon Burr? I mean, Silva didn't matter. She didn't say a word, of course. Yeah. But even so, like that would even be funny for people who were in the know and knew that, Silva's not going to say anything. Why does she have a mic on? That actually would be entertaining to me. Like they just totally dropped the ball on this. So again, BDGA, email your dude. Disc Golf Pro Tour. Email, contact me. I'll tell you these things out. Again, why not interview the players? You do it during the tournaments now. During the tournaments, when it's high pressure, you're having a showcase. Okay, maybe we don't have 8 microphones that we can mic up all the players. Why was Nate Sexton and Yuli off in who knows where that they cut to? They didn't even, you could tell they barely heard their producers. Couldn't tell when they were even going to them. Why not have them two out there interviewing the players then? Why have them in an isolated booth area? You already had a booth commentary team. Put those two with micro. That's literally what Nate Sexton does for Central Coast Disc Golf for the pros. Wow, why am I blanking on this? What does Central Coast do? The pros versus, not Joe's, but anyway.
Pros versus, I think it's something like that. It's one of those. It's one of those things. Yeah,
those where,
you know what? Actually, talking about that, one thing that popped up in my head as you're talking about that is I think the way the points are calculated on the putting, it's not just by meter, right? And meters are smaller differences. But what they could do, if you're ending on the drive, which I agree with, I think you swap it around. What you could do is do a bonus. You know what? You put both your discs past 160, then you get a bonus of whatever points. You know what I mean? Something like that where there is a significant bump that they could get to make up ground on their point deficit or, try to block out the team or whatnot. I think there is a way that definitely, the putting is very lackluster. To finish on putting, it was weird. It was kind of dead, it felt. But there's a way to make it better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Justin?
Alrighty. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I haven't gotten to watch it yet. So,
well, you like exhibition
I'll take all of that into consideration when I watch it later on. Yeah, but let's move into this.
My God, are you still talking?
All right, I'm going to throw it out there. Does the design of disc golf basket need to be overhauled, or does it need some slight adjustments to make it better? How many times have we talked about this?
Okay, the only reason why I thought about
How many times have we brought up this as a point of conversation?
Times. But usually it's
how many more times are we?
Listen,
sorry, I'm just beating everybody to the comments.
Usually it's my old mannerisms, right, on current change that can be applied. Now, the reason why this was something that I
the new basket design you saw
is the basket
okay.
testing that they're doing at Maple Hill.
Yeah,
specifically on the castle hole. If you know that hole,
hate it. Hate it.
Oh,
I don't like. I don't like. It looks too rigged when you have an arm hanging. Now, I've seen basket types where they have the basket as is, right? But they put like bars, like 3 or 4 bars around. That way it forces you to want to land on a specific angle of the basket. I get that. Yeah. And this kind of does that with a pole that is suspending the basket mechanism.
Sure.
I just, it's the aesthetics for me of this basket that throw me way off. I get that it needs to be a way.
So there's no center pole inside the chain in this basket that we're talking about. It literally is a little candy cane shape that just holds the basket by the top of the band. So all the chains are free to literally swing in there. But then what they did to alleviate too much swing in the chains is they added even more chains. So not like the Prodigy where they had the little box in there, those little chains. They literally added like another row of chains in there and even different gauge chain that's in there. So it seems like, and from what I saw described, is you can literally do what Gannon was doing and throw a driver in there. It's supposed to catch aces better or catches, discs better in that aspect that you're not going to hit the pole and jump back out. There's no little screw or bolt at the bottom of the pole that the putters are going to hit and jump out and things like that. They also, it looked like they inverted or at least did something to the basket to where now it's almost like a bowl shaped
cupped
basket rather than your traditional just regular round shape. Sorry, go ahead.
It's no, that's great observations. I don't know, man. Like I think the way the basket is now visually is great. I think the things that need to be concentrated on, as we've discussed ad infinitum, is putts being caught better, not aces. I don't care. There are aces quite often, actually. Way more than golf. So we have enough ace possibilities with a basket. And for me, we've talked about this as well. Aces, outside of a skip ace, are luck. Because if you miss the basket on an all-air ace, you're gone most of the time. So it's great to see an ace. I love seeing aces. But the purpose of the basket, the main purpose is to catch putts. So if you're making the basket in a fashion to update it to catch the putt better, great. It's got to be, for more people to like something, it's got to be aesthetically pleasing. And that basket for me is far from it. Maybe on an exhibition.
All right.
Maybe
Shout
exhibition event.
To an ace we forgot to mention in the Masters tournament, Holly Finley got an ace during the Masters tournament.
That's
really
right.
Good catch.
Sorry about that.
No. Great catch. I want to shout those out. To each their own, I guess is how I'll summarize it, because I share the similar opinions to both of you. So let's move on to the next segment.
Gear.
Oh, my.
And equipment.
What does he find? I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. This segment brought to you by discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show. Save 10% off your purchase if you use that little linky poo there, and it'll be down in the show notes below just in case you, forget. We're here for you. We'll make it easy as we can. So let's talk about some stuff that recently got approved by the PDGA in terms of equipment. Graham Discs is back at it again this month with another 5 approvals, and they had 4 last month. So you might have heard them recently, right, on the show, because they just came out with 4 discs, right? So that brings their total to 9, and that was the Oslo, the Vilnius, the Prague, Riga, Reykjavik, and that's it, right there. They're going with the city name thing, the capital city name. So, pretty cool so far. Really nothing other to say other than I kind of like the theme if they keep it on kind of the inside of the approval discs there, where they have like smoother, sharper, better, further. Like they have like all these different things for their different like molds of discs that they're doing, which is kind of cool. I like that whole thing. They got a little like theme going. So we'll see if maybe they're going to have even more maybe here next month. I don't know. They're on a roll. They might as well just keep going. They've got a lot more discs than a lot of companies that have been around for maybe a year or two in 2 months, which is kind of cool to see. It's crazy to see. So they're on a roll. They're doing it. They're doing things. Another company that's doing things and a little differently, you might say, is Ching Disc Golf. They just had their very first disc approved, a new company, the Juju and the Precision, and it's got dim dimples. It's weird. Go look at the approval pics. They've got like they almost look like golf ball dimples, right? But just kind of like around in a circle around the top of it. Maybe that leads to more aerodynamics. I have no idea. And you put an extra note in here, so do you want to cover that?
Yeah, it's unique. So and I don't know if you renamed it or whatnot, but Ching used to be a thing back in the day. They went out of business way back. But Scott Stokely, after he created his Stokely discs, he ended up buying the rights to the molds of Ching. So it is. Wow. It's new to everybody now. But it was a thing, and it's definitely a small manufacturer back in the day. Their discs are very you know it's a Ching when you see one. So
yep.
They're
cool. I threw a couple Ching discs way back in the past.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Now I guess they're new and improved.
Yeah.
Or just new, I guess. I don't know. Mint Discs had the Idol approved, and they've just joined forces, which we might talk about a little bit later, with Prodigy Discs, which is interesting. So we might see maybe even more, maybe some refinements in the future. I don't know, but we're at least seeing some new stuff getting out and getting approved. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes into the future. And then finally, and this one's kind of interesting too, and I might have to do some more research on it to figure out exactly which one it is, but the Axiom Discs Time-Lapse Retooled just got approved. And I recently saw a video where Simon Lizotte was throwing these in a field because he didn't like the way that the current line is. It's not kind of what he envisioned. So he's working with them to come out with something that's more akin to one of the first couple of prototypes of the time-lapse. So I don't know if this one is the exact direct result of that kind of working with them that he was getting. He threw, I don't know, he got like 3 boxes of these things with like different kind of flavors of them. And finally he kind of selected one that he's like, yeah, that feels right. And that flies the way that it should. So I'm not sure if this is exactly the same one from that specific kind of revamp, but I want to believe it is, because that's pretty close in proximity to that video and the release of this one getting approved by the PDGA.
Yeah, I think
for it to be a coincidence. So,
and Emac,
so I think that
the same thing with his Emac Truth. He actually had that retooled, which, you know the history is actually retooled Truth, and then also invented the Verdict because of what they were doing and messing with that. But yeah, the time lapse is, still the original time lapse concept, numbers and all that. He just wanted it retooled to kind of fit more his vision of what he originally thought. Same with the Emac Truth.
That's good. Exactly. It's got to be frustrating when you get the chance to make your own disc line, stuff like that, and then
it doesn't fly how you wanted it to.
The fact that you throw it and it's exactly what you want, but the actual main selling line of them, when they actually get production versions, don't end up being the same. Like, that's got to be
Right.
so frustrating.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's always little variances to discs anyways,
Absolutely.
right? Like you're never going to get 100% accurate recreations and statistically exactly the same as every single day. It's just impossible, right? Even with the CNC discs that are out there, I still want to get my hands on a couple of those, but there's no way that every single CNC disc flies exactly the same as another because plastic is plastic.
Right.
There's weathering, there's wear and tear, there's so many different factors to how one disc that's the exact same weight and from the same design, same mold, or however it was created is exactly the same as the next one. It's just not going to happen.
Now,
but
if you want
you'll have
insight on
similarities.
that, you can watch Jesse at Trash Panda. He's
Trash
very
Panda, yeah.
full disclosure about that exact thing that you're talking about, Justin, that there's just so much variation and all that. And he really lets you in on the insides of, how molds wear out after a while. They're big steel metal molds, but eventually, the way they're compressed and heated, and like you said, the plastic and where you're getting it from, you're sourcing it from, it's just all going to vary and make that disc, a little bit different. And then when you talk about mass production too, I think what happened, again, I'm speculating here. It's totally Ken speculating. I think what happened with the time lapse is those first few prototypes that they only did probably 1,000. But then when you're talking mass production, where you're making tens of thousands of discs, that's going to change things. Things happen, in the process. So anyway,
exactly.
Ramble on
exactly.
this episode.
Yeah, for sure. Well, real quick though, before we go on to our next segment here, want to remind you we do have an affiliate link for Vessi shoes. So check out the show notes below, save yourself a little bit of money there and pick yourself up a good quality disc golf shoe, which leads us into this bad mamba jamba right here.
KEN versus
Disc golf.
Fantasy disc golf is back.
Oh, fantasy disc golf. It is.
And if you, listen to the other parts of the episode, you'll hear a lot of names that are on my roster as winning this week or coming in second or tying. I kind of, just to pat myself on the back, I put some separation between me and Roger and everybody else these last.
That's true. That's true. And we congratulate you, Ken. Moving on to the next section. No, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm now the Skip Ace winner in the amount of wins that I have, and also now the points leader.
In points.
And like I said, some pretty good separation. The European stretch has really done me well, which if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, this is where I actually thought I would falter and dip. But, I think
this is interesting because I actually went into the draft with this stretch in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the long run, it hurt me. There were players I could have picked that would have been better not in the European stretch, that I had an opportunity to pick up, that I decided, no, I'm going to get some of the top players in the European stretch. That hasn't really worked out for me in the long run.
Yeah.
In the European stretch, I'm doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it's kind of dropped. So what would be kind of your advice going into this next half, really, of the play that we have left? What would you say would be the people that you should be keeping an eye out for, or maybe some trades?
I would definitely look into one that we had talked about 2 weeks ago. That Rachel, or the
Turton.
Turton. Yeah, I would pick her up. I would look at the two young girls in FPO, Ida and forgive me, I forget what the other girl is, but they've both been showing out. So again, if you've got somebody that's not playing well in Europe, that was, you drafted back in the, FPO field, look at that. KT Tati, again, she was just spotlighted in this superstar event and things like that. She also shows up well in Europe and things like that. Unfortunately, no one could have predicted that Kristen would go on this run that she's going back to Europe. This is her worst finishes that she's had. So, on trade wise, maybe you want to reach out to that person that has Kristen. Maybe they're frustrated. They're ticked off that she's taking a dip, and maybe they don't think she's going to recover. Throw them an offer. I mean, throw every female player you got at her. Do a 5-to-1 trade if your league allows it.
If it allows it, yeah.
Because this isn't going to last. But like I said, people get frustrated with their lineups if they're not winning every week and their players, take this dip. It's hard to watch it happen week after week after week. That these things are happening. MPO, I mean, it again tough to predict that you're going to have a Callaway win, that you're going to have an Ezra, win his first one. There's where you're going to have to take a flyer if you want to make a trade. The Adam Hammises and things like that. Like, I would absolutely make a trade offer for those guys. You never know. Ride that wave, because at least in our league, your roster depth is so much better and bigger in your MPO players. You usually have 5 or 6 MPO players in your fantasy team. Take a chance. Take a flyer on one of those guys. Take a flyer on the Yakov or whatever, and a couple of the Europeans for this stretch. Why not? Drop somebody and put them on your bench for a couple weeks. Pick up a silver lot. Why not? Throw him on the bottom. Is he going to perform that bad that he's not going to perform over someone like a Nathan Queen or a AJ Carey that you have at the bottom of your roster that you're throwing in there? So either make a trade, or again, I'm sure Silver and people like that, a lot of these Europeans, maybe you guys you didn't do what Justin did and what we did and thought, ahead the European stretch. Maybe your league didn't do that. So look through those names of the guys that have been scoring, and I'm not going to. I have people in my head visualized, but I can't pronounce their names. But you'll know. Just do a little research.
Right.
Check that top 10. Find that couple European names that have been popping off, and grab them. And either free agent or like Justin suggested, throw out a trade there. Take a chance. We're at the midpoint of the season just about too. I would assume in fantasy also, I think. Yeah, the way the calendar is even going. Like if you're in that 4th, 5th place and you guys, put money on it or whatever, or you just want to be in the, podium finish, you've got to take those chances. You can't keep holding on to those mid-tier players. Again, we'll throw out some big names. Has Ricky won yet? Has Paul won yet? Those guys that you've been holding on to that you're like, oh, but their pedigree tells me that they're going to win. And again, Paul had a great start, so, maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it's not. Trade him.
Yeah.
He's got a big name,
right?
So that might suck somebody in, and it sounds malicious, but that's fantasy. Throw somebody out there that you think has a big name that you're overvaluing. You're like, hey, you're going to get Paul Macbeth. All I want is, whatever European player, throw a name out there. But you never know. Right. While you got these next 2 events coming up. Go ahead, Nick.
So going
exactly. So Nick, you just let go of Simon Lazat over to me. And
no, I'm holding on to.
He's
a staple this year for me. So going into the 2 majors coming up, we have, like you said, we're almost through. We actually only have 8 events left, 2 being majors and then 6 Elite Series.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the players that you want to choose out of your lineup versus ones that you may want to, like you said, trade for or free agent. For this major, are you looking at people who have more better accuracy, more power and distance, longevity, or like you said, are you looking at their track record solely at the event or recent events that they may have played and where they've placed over the past 4 events?
My fantasy, how I've done it the last few seasons, is overall track record in general at every course because courses are so versatile, everything. So, wind, weather. I want somebody, and how I drafted from the beginning and how I'll continue to draft until something tells me not to, is your overall performance and your consistency throughout the whole year. I also want people that are playing all the time, things like that.
That's important.
So there's where, I personally steered away from people that go home and visit and take breaks. And Evelina, again, on FPO this year has done it. And I don't think we knew that going into the season, that she was going to take such long breaks there. Simon Lazat's doing that more, and Keith's talking about that more. Paul talked about retirement and things like that. And he's also got a kid at home and, has tons of obligations outside of playing in tournaments. And he has nothing to prove anymore. So something like that I look at as, I want that consistent. Sure, he or she may not win. Again, I picked Calvin Heimberg both years. Has Calvin won? No. But he's so consistent overall at every course, whether you put him in a wide open course, you put him in a golf course, you put him in elevation, you put him in flat, doesn't matter. He performs and falls out all the time. And when he does dip to, 15th, 20th place, whatever it be, for that one time, it's not killing me overall. So yeah, when I draft, I draft for that. And when I look for it when I'm picking up a free agent or something like that, again, why I picked up Rachel in FPO, because she's so consistent over in Europe, that her performance just, it doesn't have that up and down, in fantasy. Again, if you look at her overall, like wins versus, she's not winning nearly as much as she did last year. Last year, she was right there with Silva. Like, she was winning, but then last year, if you think about it, Evelina didn't play hardly any European stuff. Kristen didn't play hardly any, they played the majors, sure, but they really weren't, there's more emphasis this year in Europe. They're there for a longer stretch of time,
True.
That's where, again, I got lucky to where a lot of my players from America are over there, and they're going to stay over there. And again, their consistency that was in the courses in the U.S. are now reflective of what's happening here in Europe.
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting kind of seeing going forward what happens, because, there's players that, like I have, Hannah Blumrus, which she hasn't played in a lot of events. Yeah. So I'm interested to see if there's an uptick now. Fantastic player, but if they're not playing, they don't help you.
Yeah.
So the amount of events that they're actually playing is super important as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of go into the rest of what we have left, the latter half of this, what happens there.
So I have a couple follow-ups.
Any upcoming events you want to shout out there, Nick?
Yes. I do have some.
Quick follow-up, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll get to it in a second. Upcoming events, basically, you're looking at what we already discussed, July 17th, 2 days from now, through the 20th. Cool Bet presents European Disc Golf Festival 2025 DGA Major in Tallinn, Estonia. And then shortly after that, just 10 days later, it's probably a little earlier than it's a little further out than I normally go, but it's the European Swing, 6 weeks we were discussing. They're over there for basically about 6 weeks, which is kind of cool. July 30th through August 3rd is the 2025 PDGA Pro Worlds Championships PDGA Major in Tampere, Nokia, Finland. So 2 big majors, one after the other. That's a whole other discussion that people have discussed, whether you want those so close or you want them spaced out throughout the year. A couple questions here. 2 short ones and maybe a slightly more in-depth one. One, who's your go-to for sure you're going to pick? 2, who's a dark horse player, not Brody Smith, but who's your dark horse choice that you would suggest doing as your 4th MPO player? Try to see if you can get them. The other question that I had was, do you think yes, there is a Euro Tour and yes, a DGPT. Do you think having them so massively together like this, where the players have to go to Europe at where we're at in disc golf. Do you think that's maybe a couple years ahead of maybe where it's more appealing to more players? Do you think it's good that the players have to go over there for, whether it's twice a year, 2 sets of flights to get over there? Because, there were a couple events earlier, a month ago, where some of the players went over there. Aderhold flew over there, flew back, then he flew over there again, flew back. Now he's over there for 6 weeks. Do you think that that's, I guess, I don't know if promising is the word. Do you think that's a good way to structure? I think the one big trip over there, if you're going to do it, that's obviously the way to do it. But do you think they should be more separate? Do you think like the Euro Tour actually needs its whole full year worth of Euro Tour, and then the DGPT America's Tour or something like that would be a better route to go for the tour itself?
Go ahead, Justin. You can start.
No, I'll let you lightning round it. We gotta
yeah.
pick it up.
I just going on the actual like major and then worlds, 2 majors back to back. That's just logistics and trying to make it easier for the players that moved over there and stuff like that. It's a shame that, like you said, there were some players that had to bounce back and forth, but that's what the Europeans have been doing for the last 10 years themselves. So again, those that are complaining about it, boo-hoo. The Europeans, and anybody coming over from Japan and stuff like that, have had to do it the whole time because everything was over in the North America, if not just the United States. So it is what it is. As far as predictions going for the major and for worlds, I'm going to go with the field. I'm not going to go with the Gannon Burrs and because we've seen it. I mean, what's happened in the last, few events, it's been newer players. So, not to cop out, but I'll take the field over your usual suspects is all I'll say.
All right.
It's a great answer. Great answer, which leads us into last segment. Here we go.
You've got
incoming mail.
Mail call!
You do have mail. We're going to talk about something that you should watch. I've actually watched it in its entirety as well. I was definitely paying attention during that work meeting and not watching this video. Making a Major on tour. It's a DGPT mini documentary, and it's actually really good. We got an opportunity to go there, Nick and I, down to Stockton and kind of see that whole thing, how it's set up, get a little bit of photo and video and just the experience of how that goes kind of on the press side of things. And overall, impressed. It does talk about the whole foot fault thing that was called. It addresses it. And just that feeling that you get from watching what that did to Kristen Lott's gameplay and how that affected basically the rest of the tournament from there on out hits you, I think, even harder.
I believe
definitely did not.
One of the Sean's was, "I'm sick to my stomach."
Yes, that's exactly what he said. And yeah, the documentary does a very good job of pressing that point. Definitely didn't change my opinion on the matter. Mistakes were made with that call, but really good overall. The editing and the cinematography of it, top notch, top tier. That's what I want to see in anything related to disc golf in terms of like documentaries or, coverage like that, like the extras. Bar was set. It was very, very good. Check that out. We have the link down below in the show notes to the YouTube video for that. And it is really good. Check it out. It's worth the watch. Worth the watch. And I didn't speed it up to 2 times. I watched the whole thing normal speed. I mean, that's good, right? I rarely do that. Right. Yeah. That means it's got to be good.
They're easily consumable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're very easily consumable. It's fantastic. Almost as fantastic and as easily consumable as saving money. And we have a couple of different ways that we could do that for you. If you're in the market for maybe, some swag, maybe a new disc golf bag, I'm a little biased because I own 2 of them, one for me, one for the kiddo. Upper Park Disc Golf has those things that you can get, and you can save yourself some money by using the code DiscGolfShow to save yourself 15%. That's pretty darn good. Maybe Disc Golf Deals USA will follow the 15%, but they're 10% right now. Go to discgolfdealsusa.com/discgolfshow or use that little affiliate link down below. Save yourself some money. Why not? This episode is also brought to you in part by Final Nine Sports with their 2 locations, one in Rockland, one in Orangevale. Support local. That's the message. You can email us at theshow@discgolfshow.com. And if you didn't like any of the opinions expressed here on the show, I'll remind you that's what they are. They're opinions, and everybody had ones and has one in their little, you know the saying. You can email Nick at discgolfshow.com and Ken at discgolfshow.com with any of those. Or you can email me, Justin at discgolfshow.com, and tell me how brilliant I am and how I just make your day better.
Absolutely.
I'm not really that full of myself, but I like to pretend on TV that I am. Remember, subscribe to the show. It helps us out. Click that button, notifications, all those different things. Answer that question down below where we leave it in the YouTube and on the other thing, all the places that you listen to the podcast at. And remember, in disc golf, as in life, aim high and let it fly. See you later.